The Mario Galaxy movie is really bad. It was just so bad that I had to talk about it. It is a massive step down from the first Mario movie, which at least tried to be a movie at some level. The Mario Galaxy movie is a series of loosely connected TikTok shorts that serve no purpose, stack no paper, and get no Oscars. Before we get too deep into this review, I feel the need to talk just a bit about the first Mario movie and why it was so much better. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first movie, but it's very much inoffensive. It doesn't do anything wrong per se. It just isn't particularly good in any aspect. The Mario movie wasn't made by people who were super inspired and wanted to tell a great story. It was made by people who wanted to make sure that they didn't mess up as bad as the 1993 Mario movie. They still cared about the quality of the product that they were delivering, and you can tell by the final product that they did put effort in, but great art is never made by people who are just trying to sell a good product. I use the word product deliberately because the Mario movie is very much a product. I'm not saying that to accuse it of having no soul or being too corporate or something like that. I just want to point out what its goals were. I do think there was passion put into the movie, passion put into the design of this world and these movies' versions of these characters in their new look. But when it comes to the story, when it comes to the journey these characters are going on, that very clearly just wasn't the goal of the first Mario movie. There are still a few character arcs and major emotional beats in the first movie. Mario feels like no one respects him and wants to prove himself. Luigi wants to protect Mario the way Mario protects him. Peach feels alone and wants to find someone who she can relate to and who treats her as an equal. Donkey Kong, as a mirror of Mario, also wants to gain his father's respect. Or, wait, was Cranky Cod his granddad in this? I can't remember the details. Anyway, all of these characters have a clear arc that they're supposed to be going on over the course of the movie, and these arcs, like in most stories, form the emotional core of the movie. You know, we're supposed to care about Mario and Luigi's relationship as brothers, and so seeing them separated will make us want to see Mario go save him. It's very typical stuff. This is how a movie tells its story at a most basic level. Since these emotional arcs are the thing that keeps the audience interested in the story, it's their resolution that makes the story satisfying. That's why solving these emotional arcs basically always happens at the climax of a movie. Or at least that's when the characters realize that they've resolved these issues. The defeat of Bowser isn't just done by getting the superstar. It's done symbolically by completing these character arcs. Mario reunites with his brother, Luigi gets to protect Mario for a change. Peach, who had just found companionship in Mario and thought that she lost him forever, is reunited with him and now knows that she's not alone. Mario and DK's rivalry is solved to some degree, and the two of them both prove themselves not only to the world, but more importantly to their father figures. That's what makes this finale satisfying to watch, not just the fact that it's a well-animated and fun action scene. It's also important to the plot of the movie and to the characters in it. The thing is, none of this is like amazing. It's kind of the bare minimum that a movie has to do. But not every movie is necessarily about the characters in it. And I don't just mean that in a more artsy-fartsy way, like some movies like Bambi are more about vibes and nature, and not a more traditional plot structure. What I mean is, the Mario movie is more about set pieces and action and seeing this world fully realized than it is about its characters. So judging it like it's a character-based movie just misses the point. But, and this is very important, the characters are the vehicle by which we get to interact with this world. We can't really be invested in how awesome the Mushroom Kingdom is, or the Jungle Kingdom, or any of the movie's other cool set pieces without first becoming invested in these characters. And this is why I won't say that there was no effort or passion behind the Mario movie. Because when you look at the animation and the design for this world, it's clear that there was just so much attention to detail and care put into every little part of how this movie looks. And while I do really appreciate the love and care that was put into this part of the movie, personally, it feels a bit misplaced. At the end of the day, the story and the characters are what carry a movie, not the set design. I know some people are okay with a movie that's more about its world than the plot, but I think it's a boring way to make a movie. And more critically, when you make a movie that way, it's very easy to lose sight of what makes a movie work in the first place. And that is what happened with the Mario Galaxy movie. The set design in the world is just as inventive and well thought out as the previous movie, but its implementation into that movie is so bad that it just doesn't work. I have a lot of problems with the Mario Galaxy movie, but the main one is that it just does not focus on its story. In fact, it barely has a story, and that may sound weird to say. At first glance, it may seem like the Mario Galaxy movie has a ton of story. We learn who Rosalina is, we see her get captured and see Peach go on a journey to save her long-lost sister. We see Mario and Luigi follow along with Yoshi and Toad. We see Bowser reunite with his son and turn evil again. I mean, that's a lot of stuff that happens, right? Isn't that the story? Well, yes, but actually no. Because a story isn't just a series of events that follow sequentially from one another. They're events that specifically reinforce themes and character growth. As we just discussed, the events in the first Mario movie aren't just there to show us the world. They don't happen for the sake of happening. They happen to establish important character beats and to set up a theme. The problem with the Mario Galaxy movie is that it just spends all of its time focusing on the wrong things. What is Mario's character arc in this movie? I guess he's trying to get together with Peach, and his arc is resolved by the little kiss at the end, but he barely spends any time with her in this movie. They get like one scene halfway through where the two of them feel like they're bonding, and there's the scene at the start of the movie that establishes what Peach's arc is going to be, but they don't get to journey and work together until basically the climax of the movie. Any growth in their relationship, therefore, feels shallow and forced because the movie didn't give them time to actually develop. Luigi's character arc doesn't have one. Yoshi's character arc doesn't have one. Toad also doesn't really have one, unless it was supposed to be reconciling his frustration with Yoshi showing up, but that's mostly treated as a joke. They don't, have any actual conflict with each other in the movie, so there's no arc there. And just to be clear, it is okay to have characters who don't grow in your movie. In fact, basically every movie has a supporting cast of characters who don't grow in any way. I mean, Toad didn't have an arc in the first movie, and that's fine. He was a supporting character. But Yoshi is given a lot of screen time in this movie. His arrival was the teaser in the last movie, and Mario and Luigi are supposed to be the main characters. Their name is the title of the movie. Okay, well, Mario's name is the title. Luigi kind of got left out on that one. The fact that they don't have anything to do in the movie is a big problem. Now, Peach was given a much more interesting character arc for this movie, surrounding her feelings of being alone and out of place. And honestly, she feels like more of the main character than Mario does. But it still doesn't really get the time it deserves or would need to work as a story. Peach and Rosalina just do not have a meaningful relationship in this movie. They don't meet until the climax. And how Peach feels and what she thinks about learning that she is a long-lost sister just don't get any meaningful focus. I mean, if I discovered that I had a long-lost sister who abandoned me as a child, I think I'd be upset at first. Once I learned that she did it for my own good, I'd probably simmer down a bit, but it would be a confusing and difficult experience, I think. In the movie, Peach's emotions towards her sister are purely positive. It's basically just a rehash of what the first movie did with Mario and Luigi. Except that they forgot that the first movie had like 10 minutes at the start that are dedicated directly to showing us Mario and Luigi's relationship. They didn't just say they're brothers and leave it at that. They actually took the time to make the characters feel like two brothers who care about each other and have thoughts and feelings about each other beyond, he's my brother. Peach only knows that Rosalina is her sister and loves her unconditionally on that premise alone. Which, like, yeah, that is kind of how siblings work, but as somebody with 2 siblings, several step-siblings, and a lot of cousins, family is a lot more complicated than that. Even if you do have a positive relationship with your family members, you have a lot more to say about them and more thoughts about them beyond just loving them. Capturing that is really important to making a familial relationship feel real in a piece of art. And the Mario movie just completely fails to do that with Peach and Rosalina. It straight up does not care about how this life-changing information would affect Peach on an emotional level. It just skips it and assumes that the audience will accept that Peach and Rosalina are already really close. The only, and I mean the only, character arc and relationship that the movie puts any real effort into is Bowser and Bowser Jr.'s father-son dynamic. Bowser gets like so much screen time in this movie, and a ton of time is dedicated to making Jr. and his relationship feel real and well realized. And it is easily the best part of the movie. The thing is, it also doesn't really serve any purpose to the story. There's no like thematic relevance to the question of if Bowser can be redeemed or not. I guess there might be like a bit of a parallel between their relationship and Peach and Rosalina's relationship. Like, family is central to both the heroes and the villains in this movie, but that's it. There's not a point to that parallel. It doesn't tell us anything about our heroes, so it's basically just a waste of time. So, what does the movie do instead of developing its characters? Well, it mostly just shows off cool settings and makes random Mario and Nintendo references. It's very hype moments and aura storytelling. If you consider seeing a reference to an old Mario character a hype moment. Again, the movie is just as inventively designed and well realized as the first. It does still have great settings and really good action, but none of that is grounded by anything this time around. In the first Mario movie, every new place that the characters went had something important to introduce to the audience. You can't really cut the Jungle Kingdom or Rainbow Road or Bowser's Castle sections out of the movie without losing something of value. Everywhere the characters go is important to their journey. In the Galaxy movie, like half of the locations can be cut and not much would change. The casino doesn't develop the characters meaningfully. The whole space station honestly could be cut without changing much, honestly. The dinosaur planet is pointless. The entire scene of the Mario Brothers helping out the Mushroom Kingdom has nothing to do with any character's arc. Now, like, the plot would have to be changed. It wouldn't make sense for the characters to be where they were if you cut these scenes. But these specific scenes, these specific locations do not impact the characters' arcs. Peach doesn't learn anything at the space station. Yoshi and Toad don't learn anything on the dinosaur planet. Mario and Luigi's romp through the Mushroom Kingdom does nothing but reinforce their competency, which we already saw more clearly in the opening scene of the movie. The entire second act can be cut without anything being lost, with the sole exception of scenes where Bowser or Jr. are involved. And that's really bad, because it means we spend most of the movie wasting time instead of telling a story. That leaves us with the biggest issue that the movie has, which is the fact that it cares more about referencing stuff from Nintendo's past and remixing them into this new setting than it does actually being a movie. So this is going to be like a weirdly specific reference, but have you guys ever had a friend who's trying to write a story at some point, and they have like a ton of stuff about the setting they're figuring out and writing down, and they try to share it with you? The trouble with that kind of thing is that most of the time, it's just random details and ideas being tossed around with no context to ground them. It can be really, really hard to give any meaningful feedback because you don't know what the story they're trying to tell is and why any of those details would matter. That's what the Mario Galaxy movie is like. It is just world building with no context, just ideas and cool settings and cool places to tell a story without a real story being told. By the way, no shade at any aspiring writers who've done that before. Literally everyone has. It's just really hard to talk about world building in a meaningful way when a story hasn't been written yet. Back to the point, the entire Mario Galaxy movie is just like random stuff being thrown at the viewer, and it all serves no purpose. It gives the distinct impression of like jingling keys in front of a baby to keep them busy. Like they think the audience is too stupid to pay attention to something for longer than a couple of minutes. Not to say that that's what the people who made this movie actually think about the audience. I mean, not necessarily. This problem is mostly caused by the fact that the characters aren't grounding any of this into a meaningful story. But it's also made a lot worse by the fact that the movie is just absolutely overstuffed with ideas. It has to introduce Yoshi and Rosalina and the Lumas and Bowser Jr. and his relationship with his dad, and it has to establish all of these new settings, and on top of that, it's throwing in random crap like Fox McCloud and the Pikmin and the T-Rex from Odyssey, and it's just too much. The pacing of the movie really suffers as a result. We spend way too long in the first act, but then after that, the second act is just moving at a breakneck pace between a ton of disconnected ideas and settings as we just race toward the third act with almost nothing having actually happened. It's simultaneously very overstimulating and boring. I've seen people say that the movie feels like it was edited for TikTok clips, like it was designed for clips to be taken out of context and posted online to generate buzz. And it does kind of feel like that. That might be a part of the problem. But honestly, I think it's mostly a result of the movie just trying to do way too much and having to trim down every scene to the bare essentials to just have time to cover everything. That is most of the problem with the movie. It has its priorities in the wrong place and is trying to cover so much that it doesn't actually have time to develop anything meaningfully. But there are a few other bugaboos I have with this movie that are more isolated problems and less tied into those central issues. First off, Rosalina. Holy hell, they did her dirty. She's barely in the movie more than Fox McCloud is, and why? Not only does this just suck because, as a Mario fan, I like Rosalina and I wanted to see her more, but I actually think it messes with the story of the movie because, again, Rosalina does not have a relationship with Peach in this movie, and their relationship is like the basis of the climax. Also, why did she never go see Peach after Peach grew up? Like, I know she was trying to keep her safe by hiding her, but by the time she was an adult, surely they could meet up and it would be fine. She's hanging out with her now and there doesn't seem to be an issue? Is it just because they beat Bowser? Is he like the only person she was scared of abusing her and Peach's powers? That is a bit of a nitpick, honestly, but it's just weird that we don't get an explanation for it. I also just really don't like Rosalina and Peach being sisters. I mean, I don't dislike the idea in and of itself, but I dislike her backstory being changed from what it was in Mario Galaxy. Again, I'm not just saying that as a fan who liked her in that game and who wants things to stay the same. It means that her relationship with the Lumas no longer serves any purpose. Originally, Rosalina's connection to the Lumas and therefore the cosmos was like the point of her character. Now that it's gone, there's no reason why she's taking care of the Lumas anymore. Why is she a maternal figure to them? There is no longer an answer. It's just assumed to be who she is, I guess. It's removing depth from her character and replacing it functionally with nothing. I also just don't see the point in Bowser's character arc. Like, why not just have him stay evil? Why not have him stay good and have to try to reconnect with his son after this change in their values? If he's just evil, we don't have to spend the entire movie on him and Junior and can focus on the actual protagonists instead. Or, if he stays a hero, then his journey is directly relevant to the hero's winning. Either of these would make the movie feel more cohesive and would be a better use of screen time than giving him an anti-character arc. I also just don't like how dumb Bowser is. Like, why is Junior significantly smarter than him? Why can he manipulate him like this? And why can't Bowser see that that's what's happening? This would make sense if Junior was a young adult, like in his later teenage years. But he's like a preteen at most here, right? It just feels wrong. Yeah, that's the Mario Galaxy movie for the most part. I'd give it about a 3 out of 10. It has some really good action scenes and is really well animated, but the script was very weak. I want to say that I'm not expecting these movies to be amazing or anything. I think the first 2 Sonic movies are like 6 out of 10s maybe, probably 5s, but I'm fine with that. Sonic 3 is legit very good, by the way. It's just a significant improvement over the first 2. The point I'm making here is, if the movie was just okay, I wouldn't be complaining about it. Sure, I'd love for it to be a genuinely great film, but there's nothing wrong with a movie just being okay sometimes. It's not a fucking travesty or something. But like, the complete lack of interest in, or ability to make anything even competent is a big enough issue for a movie with this kind of budget and cultural influence that it needs to be called out. We should not be accepting this just because it has characters we like in it. Anyway, that's the video. If you like this, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all that jazz. And if you really like my content, consider becoming a member. Members get access to my videos a full day early, and they get shouted out at the end of every single video. Speaking of which, big shout outs to Elric111, Agent B7, Joseph Florian, GB484, Atria5506, Nicholas Goslin, Noble_Samurai, Cat Matt, Bladed Fox 14, Shredding Pixels, and Robo Nerd. You're all lovely people, and I'll see you next time.